everyone. Now we will discuss about part 2 regarding meningitis disease condition. Okay, in this we have to discuss about pathophysiology for meningitis. Okay, we have discussed in previous videos what is that what are the causes for meningitis. Okay, in that causes like some viruses, some bacteria, some fungus, some protozoa. Okay, these organisms may be enters through the mouth or through the nose or through the ears or through the some opening parts of the children. Okay, which is opening part, internal openings is there. Okay, through that way the virus, the bacteria, the fungi, okay, these are organisms will be enters into the children's children's body. Okay, after that what happens means it will be give some infection, some inflammation to the affected part. Okay, in this especially the what is that means meningeus layer will get some infection. Okay, if the virus, the bacteria should be enters through the nose or enters through the ears or enters through the mouth, okay, or whatever it may be, what is the way or what is the process. Okay, the internal opening, the viruses, bacteria, fungi enters and it will be reaches to the meningeus layer. Okay, in that meningeus layer give some infection. Okay, after that what happens means the organism will give some release of cytokines. Okay, it leads to what happens means vessels, blood vessels should get some inflammation. Okay, it leads to what happens means increased ICP. ICP nothing but intracranial pressure should be increased. Okay, next another one is the decreased cerebral blood flow. Okay, the blood receiving brain, okay, through the cerebral circulation. Okay, in that cerebral circulation should be decreased due to the increased intracranial pressure. Okay, this is the pathophysiology of meningitis. Okay, next we will discuss about clinical manifestations. Okay, once the children will be suffering with the one disease condition of meningitis, in that what happens, what are the changes means fever, body temperature should be increased. Okay, why the body temperature should be increased means due to the viruses infection or bacterial infection. Okay, in that some body changes will be there. Okay, why? Because that bacteria, virus should be new organism, no? New organism enters into the children's body, the children's body gets some changes due to that viral or bacterial activity. Okay, due to that reason the children may have the increased body temperature. Okay, next one is the common symptom headache, that is the common symptom neck pain. Okay, another one is the nausea, vomitings. Okay, next another symptoms like irritation. Okay, loss of or altered level of consciousness. Okay, the children are having loss of concentration. Okay, next another symptom like bulging of frontanella. Okay, in that children's having what is that means anterior frontanella, posterior frontanella is there, no? In that anterior frontanella should be closed, what is that means 2 to 8 weeks or 18 months. Okay, from the 18 months period the children's anterior frontanella should be closed. Okay, this 4 to 6 weeks of that period the posterior frontanella should be closed. Okay, in this anterior frontanella what happens means due to the increased ICP, intracranial pressure increased, some fluid should be accumulated. Okay, due to that reason means in that brain having that infection, especially in that meningeus layer, how we will identify by externally means when we will do physical examination of the children, then the frontanella should get some enlargement. Okay, next another one is the children are having one symptom like decreased ICP or sometimes seizures. Seizures we will know. What is that means? Abnormal electrical discharges from the brain. Immediately the children are showing some involuntary movements of voluntary muscles. Okay, voluntary muscles, what happens means when we want to do some activity means then only we have to give some actions to the voluntary muscles. But the children who are having seizures disease condition, okay, those children are having the abnormal activity, involuntary activity, purposeless movements they are doing. Okay, these are the symptoms we will observe in the children who are suffering with the meningitis disease condition. Okay, next step, that is the diagnosis. Okay, in the diagnosis what we have to do as a nurse means first one is the history collection. Okay, in this history collection we have to collect baseline data of the children. Okay, what is the reason? Okay, you have previously undergone tuberculosis disease condition or pneumonia disease condition, or some brain tumors, or sometimes seizures or febrile convulsions, or sometimes the children may have any infections like otitis media. Means in this otitis media how we are identified means pus formation from the ears. Okay, this type of infection will be easily cause of meningitis. Okay, as a nurse we have to collect history of children regarding diagnosis of meningitis. In this we are doing another examination like CSF examination, cerebrospinal fluid examination. Okay, how we will collect cerebrospinal fluid from the children means through the lumbar puncture. Okay, we have to do some puncture to the lumbar region, then we have to insert one needle and we have to collect fluid of the children's cerebrospinal fluid for examination of which bacteria or which virus, which fungi or which protozoa is there in the children's meningitis infection. Okay, the children are suffering with the pyogenic meningitis or aseptic meningitis or meningitis or tuberculosis meningitis. Okay, which type of meningitis is affected by the children, that will be identified by doing the cerebrospinal fluid examination. Okay, next another one is the CT scan. Okay, computer tomography scan. This will be useful for identification of structure of brain. Okay, is there any structural abnormalities in the brain due to the malignancies or due to the cancer to the brain tissue? Okay, or sometimes tumor formation or blood clot or thrombus formation in the brain tissue. That's why the children may have this disease of meningitis. Okay, regarding this we have to identify it by doing the CT scan. Okay, next another one is the MRI. Okay, magnetic resonance imaging. Okay, this and X-ray. Okay, these two also useful for identification of skull structure and functions. Okay, is there any abnormalities in the skull? Why? Because the skull bones only protecting this brain, no? Okay, that's why we have to identify for structural abnormalities is there in the skull, that will be identified by doing the X-ray examination of the children. Okay, next we want to discuss about management. Okay, in this management what we are discussed means first of all, as a nurse we have to administer antibiotics to the children. Okay, in that antibiotics for example cefotaxime. Okay, in that cefotaxime 50 milligrams per kg body weight, the route is the intravenous. Okay, administration of medication, so many routes is there, no? Intramuscular, intravenous, subcutaneous, okay, intradermal, but this cefotaxime injection we have to administer only through the intravenous injection every 6 hours. Okay, next another injection like another medicine like ceftriaxone. Okay, in that ceftriaxone also 75 milligrams per kg body weight. Okay, 75 milligrams per kg body weight we have to administer. In that another drug, that is the ampicillin. Okay, in that ampicillin also we have to administer 50 to 100 milligrams per kg body weight. These drug also route for the intravenous route. Okay, this medicine also administered every 6 hours to the children who are suffering with the meningitis disease condition. Okay, next another one is the some medications like corticosteroids. Okay, these are the hormonal therapy. Okay, in this corticosteroids, for example dexamethasone, we want to administer to the children. The dosage is the 0.15 milligrams per kg body weight. This medicine also administered every 6 hours up to 2 to 4 days.